Hello and welcome to Optimal Game State. Today we're looking at just one figure. This is the Deathbringer that recently got a profile in the August FAQ for Warcry. The model itself is interesting enough because we've had tons of aspiring Deathbringers, and this is the first actual Deathbringer we have, at least that I'm aware of. Obviously, with the new profile, I have been thinking a lot nicer thoughts about this particular fighter. Okay, so the profile itself is 4 move, fine, normal human, 5 toughness, very tough, 26 wounds. So it's kind of it's a Stormcast kind of levels. The attack itself is 1 range, 3 dice, 5 toughness, and does 3-4 damage. Really good profile. You'd prefer if there was more attacks, but you know, 6.5 against T4 is healthy damage. You're not upset to see that. Once I attempted to math out the numbers, 180 came out spot on for the combination of the weapon and the profile. The toughness gives a little bit of a scaler onto the wounds. 180, bang on, good value. Now, where does it sit in? This is just the dark green and the dark blue are just the Chaos heroes. So these are the options that you have to hire in as your 2 heroes in any of your Chaos Warbands. So you can see the Deathbringer, he's there at that 180 points. He's not the top damage by a considerable chunk. There are fighters up beyond 9 that are coming in at 180 points. And the same for wounds. It's not the 26 wounds they have. Isn't the kind of top numbers you're going to get for even that 180. But they're certainly not bad. Those are good points and kind of what you're expected. They're just not super efficient. There are 4 abilities. The first one's quite interesting, actually. So the first one is the reaction for the Khorne Warband. So this is actually a variant on the old version of counter. So in this case, once they activate it, each hit roll that misses does 2 damage to the attacking fighter, and then each crit does 1 additional damage to this fighter. So you do take damage if your enemy gets crits, but you are doing damage, and it's a lot more than the variant version that they've got. The new version that they've got for counter. So that's quite interesting. I'm not wondering, I doubt they'll change it. It's obviously only 1 warband, but it is quite interesting that this one does scale. So all misses are going to be 2 damage, but you do have the risk of getting a little bit of extra damage done back to you. So we're probably not going to use this ability. This is a chunky fighter doing a good amount of damage already. You don't need to do a splashback, but the option is there if the fighter is going to be going down soon, obviously. You've got the fantastic double blood for Blood God. So if you've taken down an enemy, you can take a double and then get a move or a bonus attack action. Always nice. Lord of Skulls, again, you're probably not going to use this as a triple. And if you activate it, you can only activate it after you take down an enemy fighter, and it'll give +1 attack to friendly fighters near it. Now, Killer of Kings is what we're really interested in. You have to have done damage to the target before you can activate it. If you do, you roll a number of dice equal to the value of the ability. So this is a triple. If you got a triple 1, you roll 1 dice. If you got a triple 5, you roll 5 dice. If you triple 6, you roll 6 dice. If you get a 6 on any of the dice you roll, you do damage points to the enemy fighter equal to their wounds characteristic, and those damage points cannot be ignored. So basically, you're going to one-shot a target. Now, if you're going up against a Skaven clan rat, there's a good chance you'll probably kill them with the first hit anyway. But activating this ability is going to do, I don't know, like 5 or 6 damage, whatever it is, for a chat. But if you're going up against something super chunky with 30 wounds, you're just going to instantly kill them. So this is potentially a meta-defining ability. Let's try break it down a little bit. Okay, so on the left-hand side, we've got the 2 hit values. So we're looking to only do 1 damage. We just need to get 1 hit in. So I think that's technically 3 damage, but still. So if you're going against T4, you need to roll 3+ on any of those 3 dice, and then you'll be able to activate the ability. If you T5, you're equal to the attack start or attack strength, so it's 87% chance. And then if you're going against something super tough, which is probably what you're going to be going after, so the bigger things are more likely to have those 5 or 6 toughness. Rare to have 7, but So if you're going up against something that's tougher than you, than your strength, then it's going to be a 70% chance. After you have that, then you're going to be looking at the number of dice you're rolling for the ability. So you could be rolling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Obviously, the chance of rolling a 6 goes up the more dice you roll. So if you're rolling 1 dice, there's only a 16% chance, and it goes all the way up to a 66% chance if you've got 6 dice. So rolling 6 dice, you're not guaranteed to get a 6. There's obviously a good chance you are going to, but there's also a chance that you're just not going to get any 6s on those at all. That means worst case scenario, you're going up against a toughness 6 target, and you've got a triple 1 to use. That's 11% chance of actually one-shotting them. Not very likely, but honestly, you might still take that risk just to see. Now, realistically, you're probably going to be turning a double into a triple. So you've got a really good chance of getting a double 4, 5, or 6. And then using a wild dice on turn 2 to turn that into a triple. So you'll have a triple 4, 5, or 6. So a 51% chance. So 70, you multiply the chances by each other. So you'd have basically a 35% chance, 1 in 3, of taking down the biggest target that your enemy has on the board after on turn 2. Massive. Really, really big. Okay, what else could we do? We could bring in a Frosty Blessing, so that will slightly increase the chances. Arguably, it's not increasing things by much. You only need to get that one hit in. So at the T6 plus level, it is an extra 10%, so it's 80% instead of 70%. And at the T5, you have shifted it from like 87 to 93. So you are getting increases. They are significant enough. But for 30 points, I'm not sure it's necessarily worth it. Obviously, the Killer King's side of the ability can't change. You just have to, try get a high value triple to be able to preferably get up to that 6. And then even then, there's 2/3 of the chance you're going to do it. Now, we've already looked at this profile. If this fighter goes up, hits the target, and fails, it's already still a really well pointed character and will have probably done a good chunk of damage. With its toughness 5 and its 26 wounds, if the enemy strikes back, there's a good chance it's going to survive. So, you're probably going to have another shot at it next round. But even if you fail all of the Killer King abilities, you're still doing good damage. You're wasting some triples, arguably, but, triples are there to be wasted. And this gives you a good chance of actually just taking out an enemy. Obviously, the lower wounds they get, the less likely it's relevant, but still, even if it only ends up doing 1 damage at the end, you're going to be killing the target. Again, if you are not doing damage, this still seems to be good value. It's a well-pointed character. It's 4 move, 5 toughness, 26 wounds, and it's doing 6.5 or 5 damage on average. It'll never actually be 5. It'll always be like 0, 3, what's next? 6, 7, because it's always in chunks 3, 4. Anyway, don't worry about the maths. If you were to take 2, this is kind of what the board looks like. So the worst case scenario is you get punched into one of these corners in your deployment. Obviously, deployment's going to be random. Chances are you're not going to get stuck in that corner. But if you had 2, turn 2, that's basically your breath. So you'll maybe take a double, so you're able to move 10 inches on the first turn, and then you're going to have that move of 4 to get into actual combat. Now, you do have a little bit of leeway in where you actually drop your base when you're deploying, so it's not necessarily at the very edge of the board, and also you have that 1 inch range. So I've given it 15, but it's maybe 15 and a half, maybe up to 16, depending on how you actually end up placing at start. That's significant. That leaves very few places for your opponent to actually hide away. What they will want to do, or what you will want to do if you're facing off against a Deathbringer or 2, is you will want to engage the Deathbringer, get it in combat against some of your chaff. Now, there's a good chance it is going to do damage, it is going to hurt, but then it won't be able to effectively use the Killer Kings, because, if you stick a 10 wound fighter up against it and actually, if you charge in and do that, then it's going to do a 6.5, so it'll probably kill it. but at least it won't have moved and gone near your hero. So you're going to be trying to feed feed your chaff into these monsters, or monster, depending on what you have. It's definitely something you're going to have to play around with. It's definitely something you're going to be aware of. Is it too much? I don't know. So things like this can be healthy for the game in that they provide a problem that's well known that people have to play against. We saw Vexmore previously, and the Deathbringer. You could play Deathbringer and Vexmore just to maximize the chaos. But people had to work out ways of dealing with Vexmore, and people will have to find ways of dealing with the Deathbringer. I do think it's super, super powerful. It might shift the meta away from like super powerful units, because the Deathbringer can kill them. At the same time, it's only 4 turns. If the Deathbringer is triggering the kill activation on turn 4 after you've already activated it, it's not too much of a big deal. So, the actual use of the ability kind of diminishes over time, and especially depending on what you're doing. It does mean if there's a kill mission and you need to kill that target, then the Deathbringer is going to be super effective at doing it. But yeah, it's on the board, you know what it is, and it is not 100% reliable. So even with 6 dice, like the maxed out we saw was like a 64% chance of doing that, and that's with the Ferocity Blessing, which isn't really going to happen. So it's only a small difference, 63. So 2/3 of the time, so every second game, 2 out of every 3 games, you might be able to get this off, and it could be massive. But I think with your opponent being aware of it and being cautious about it, they should be able to feed blades into the Deathbringer. That said, Khorne cares not where the blood comes from. So yeah, be aware and maybe have some fun with it. See if you can get yourself a model. It is currently out of stock everywhere I have looked. But yeah, this one is one to be aware of and keep in mind when you're playing games of Warcry. All right, keep tuned. I will be looking at a few of the new models that we have in the FAQ and just doing focus videos like this, only looking at them. So keep an eye out for that.
Thanks for making it all the way to the end. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Each week I put up a new video talking about one of Games Workshop's specialist games. The goal is always to try and make the best possible 2-player experience. If this is something you'd find interesting, please subscribe to the channel and comment to let me know what you'd like to see in future.